right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. We are Old Guys Still Rock. Welcome back. You have just witnessed, we are episode number 13. Can believe it or not, Mr. Wright, we made it. We made it past 10, we made it past 11, 12, and 13.
I'm ecstatic about this. I never thought we'd get through one or two, buddy.
I know. And we're still a work in progress, so we still have a couple bumps in the road here and there.
Yep.
We're excited today. We have guest number 2. We had a great guest last week who talked about unveiling the truth about baking, and we'll bring him back later on in a couple more weeks. But today we have Mr. Joe Daniels, a good friend of mine for over 30 years. I can't be that old, dude. There's no way.
Yeah, you're still younger than me.
Am I? I'm 54.
I'm 57.
Oh, dude, I thought I was actually older than you. Thank God.
Nah, man, you're 57, man.
Okay, well, Brent's still the baby in the room, though.
Yeah, going to be 51 in a couple months. So.
Oh, man. Jesus, man.
So to be 51 again.
51, brother. So Joe was, Joe and I actually met each other starting back in Costco in the early 90s before I had babies. Now my son is going to be 33. Is that right? Yeah, 33 this year with 6 grandkids. Can you believe that? Man, Joe didn't have any kids when I first met him. Now he has got two great kids. You're a grandpa now too, right?
Yeah. Grandson. Yeah.
So great. His daughter is a thriving athlete. Is she still pursuing?
No. She's done with athletics, man. She was a track athlete at UNLV for 2 years, and she has lupus. And so one of those things you can only do so much until your body just says I can't do it anymore. Yep. And so she put track away. She transferred to UCLA. And she graduated with a degree in political science, and then now she's making her way through that field.
Good for her, man.
Yeah.
How's your son doing?
My son is he's actually should be going for his electrical contractor's license pretty quick here. He works with his uncle as an electrician, man, and it's kind of one of those things he fell into it. He went to college, and he didn't love football anymore, didn't love college anymore, and so he ended up working for his uncle for a couple years here, and he's about to take his contractor's license pretty soon here. And in California, you know how California is right now with the housing boom and all the forest fires and all the stuff that needs to be rebuilt. He's going to be in demand. So he fell into a really nice trade. Yeah, so he's happy. He's doing well.
That's what my son does in Idaho, and he loves it. It's a good, promising career. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Still making music?
Yeah, he still does some stuff on the side. He actually did a couple things for me before I left the first time. I made him do a couple things for me because I wanted to hear it on the plane. And yeah, he's still pretty active, and he's actually really good. He's just right now trying to take care of the electrical stuff, the sure stuff first, and then he's just using that as kind of his stress release, his extra thing right now. And if that comes to hit him, you know, he's already prepared for that. But right now he's concentrating on the family part and being a good electrician right now.
That's great, man. Well, when we get done with this, we're going to put this on recording. I need you to provide us the link because they have some pretty good stuff out there on SoundCloud, man. It's impressive some of the mixes they have. It's really good. So we'll get that in.
He actually had a little group a couple of years ago, man. They were pretty good, but they just couldn't. You know, guys moved away and went away.
Yeah.
But, man, he's actually pretty good at what he does.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so let's get into this right now. It's just, again, today is, guys, we're Old Guys Still Rock. I'm Blair Armstrong. We're located in beautiful Indian Wells, California. I know that I'm in the middle. I'm the meat of the sandwich today, as Brent said. And Brent Wright is located in beautiful Eugene, Oregon. I'm sure the weather is really nice there today. And then Joe, I don't want to butcher the city and country that you're in. So what country and city are you in?
So I'm in Brazil, and I'm in the city of Fortaleza, and it's on the northeast coast of Brazil. So to kind of give you an idea what it's like here, every day is between 85 and 90. Where I live now currently, I live about a mile and a half from the beach. Actually, to 2 beaches. Where I sit, there's a beach this direction of me, and there's one this direction of me. I'm kind of right equidistant. So the weather's always nice. 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime.
Wow.
That's
Right now
awesome.
right now we're in the dry season, so it might sprinkle a little bit during the nighttime, but during the daytime, nothing right now. So yeah, you can't beat the weather I'm in right now. Once you get past the humidity part, it's actually pretty nice.
There's
Yeah.
probably not any good eye candy out there either.
No, it's pretty empty out here as far as that.
All right, so get and then as I said to you, as we have all these guys here, and our main focus on this is really to be an inspiration, to let what other knows people are doing. When I met Joe, as I said to you, we met Joe when we started working at Costco in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Joe went on after 11 years and started becoming a teacher. And we're going to walk through that. And the next thing you know, he had this calling to become a coach, and it led him to overseas. This is your second or third year?
Fourth season.
Fourth season.
Yeah.
God,
fifth
it just
season.
flies by.
Yeah.
So he
goes
goes. He's over there doing that. But the one thing that is also what we really excited to have him on, it was always this pursuit for more and more. And it's nothing to say that teaching gave a lot for a lot of people, but he thought that he could take his talents and find his purpose and what he really enjoyed, his passion and all this stuff. And now he's putting that stuff, and he's instilling into these young men and even probably older guys over there of how just to get to do more. Like, we can you're here, but let's go here. So let's start back with, and then Brent's obviously got a bunch of questions that he wants to ask as well. It's like,
Sure.
brother, when you left Costco and then started, obviously married at that time, or
Right.
I can't remember. Okay, married
Yeah,
at that
so-
time.
Yeah.
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 What drove you to become a teacher? What was something that was at that part?
Okay, so this would have been about 1998.
Okay.
I had transferred from actually the Yakima store, Union Gap, to go back home to the Bay. Well, Sacramento, because all my family had moved to Sacramento from the Bay Area.
Okay.
I just had enough of Costco. I mean, and I wanted to do other things. Costco was for me, it wasn't a career thing. It was kind of something I kind of fell into, and I liked it, and it allowed me to do a lot of things, and it provided a good living, but it's not what I wanted to do. And for me, it was a case of still working at Costco. I missed football, I played
Yeah.
it, and I was late to football. People always laugh. I didn't play my first full season of football in high school until my senior year. I came halfway through my sophomore year. I was stuck behind a bunch of really good guys in my junior year. I got to play a lot, but I wasn't a starter. You know what I mean? Because of just my inexperience. And then my senior year, I kind of grew into myself. But even going from high school to college, I was still behind a lot of guys as far as exposure and playing. But anyways, I played. I was just, fairly decent at it. And but football's one of those sports where you can't just get a bunch of guys together and go play a game of tackle football at the park. You can always play baseball, softball. You can always play basketball. Soccer. But football's one of those things. Once it's over, it's over. As a player, unless you're gonna go play beyond college or go beyond high school, there's not much you can really do. So I had to go do life. So I left California, moved to Costco, Eugene, worked at Costco, did that for 11 years. But about year 10, happened to just be saying, I miss football. Hey, and then one of the guys I worked with said, hey, I know 2 programs that need coaches. You should go talk to them. This is in Roseville.
Right.
So I went and talked to who I now refer to as a program. I don't say their name. And I talked to their guy, and he just came up as not being like he couldn't be bothered. The other program I went to was the newer school. They weren't struggling, but they were just how new schools are. You win 4 or 5 games a year. They're at the 6 games. That's a good year until you start getting your program built up. So that's where I started at, and it was Wood Creek High School, and the guy's name was Todd McKillop, and I talked to him about an hour. Man, we sat there a long time. We just talk, and I ended up coaching freshmen and JV. Actually, I ended up coaching all 3 levels because how they rotated the staff. So it worked. It wasn't but extra work, and how they rotated the staff was actually really cool. So I got to work all three levels, and so I learned a lot in just those two years. And I guess apparently I was pretty good at it. So when I asked them, what do I have to do this full time, and they said, well, the easiest way to do this is to get a teaching credential. And so I actually started teaching computers and technology, and I did that for 2 3 years, and then started coaching at Wood Creek. And then I went and got my teaching credential, and then I moved on to another school, which happened to be a friend of the first guy that I was coaching with. His name was Terry Stark. He was at the Thomas High School, and this guy is, he's a 200 plus win guy in California, and it doesn't seem like a big number, but in high school sports, that's a really huge number to win. And he's probably one of the best coaches on the West Coast as far as running the wing team, as far as running the program, as far as getting guys off to college. And honestly, I had never, like, my high school team was really good, we were really fast. I'm sure you heard the stories with TJ.
Right.
Talk about
TJ Kadati, baby.
Yeah. These guys, though, I mean, I had never coached a bunch of kids this fast before, and they ran this old system, and they learned it from the guy that was one of the first guys to learn it from the guy who actually wrote the offense, the wing T. We actually had the guy that wrote the book on the wing T come to our school and do a seminar when I was at Wood Creek. So anyway, so we ran this basic old ancient offense that everybody hates to run.
Right.
But if you go back and look at everything's based on this offense. Even the West Coast offense, everything Bill Walsh did, the 49ers did, was all based on the wing T offense. So I learned that, and the more I got into it, and the more I read, and the more I learned, I got better. I took my lumps. My first head coaching job was a disaster. Another school opened up, and they took all the best athletes, and but I knew I had to take a shot somewhere. So I did that for a while, and then I just once my kids got older, my son started to play. I coached him, so I kind of went where he went. I worked as an assistant coach for a long time, so I could stay with my kid, and then my daughter came through again. I helped coach her track teams. I drove her to volleyball practice, did all the stuff I could, and I wanted to make sure, because my dad did it for me. He always made sure that if he wasn't coaching, he was always around, either taking me to practice or watching my games, or stay with my mom. I mean, every college game I played, my parents were there. If it was in the state of California, my parents went.
I want to stop you. I'll hold on real quick, because there's one thing that you said that stuck out with me, and I think I saw Brent's eyes move too. You said that you took your lumps, brother.
Right.
Here's this guy who's never had coaching before. You started learning a lot of stuff. You got some good guys. Obviously, you had some adversity.
Right.
What kept you driving? Like, I don't like that, but we're going to keep this going, because sometimes we get guys, and you see a lot more of it lately, that everyone's like, yeah, I tried it for a couple years, and there was probably more than 1 year of taking lumps. There's probably a couple years. What kept that passion and that purpose for you to keep running, moving forward? Because a lot of us these days seem to like, I thought it was going to be cool, but this is too much work and I'm out.
It's too hard.
I knew I was good at it, and it was just a situation. High school sports, this is where most of my exposure was in the beginning. High school sports are not depending on the coaches, just entirely depending on the kids you get. You're from the Portland area, so usually the schools that are usually always good are always going to be good, and the ones that struggle are going to struggle unless there's a population shift. You understand what I'm saying? Right. That's why you see the most prized jobs are the ones that are highly competitive as far as the most job openings come, because those programs stability's there. So, but I knew it was good. I knew I just needed a situation where I just needed a stable situation is what I needed. But life happens. You get married, you have kids, you get divorced. I'm divorced. And there were some jobs I had to pass up because they were either in other states or other parts of the state where my kids would have had to been uprooted. I would have had to do a lot of other things. So there's a lot of jobs I had to say no to that my kids don't even know. Even my ex-wife doesn't even know about. I had to just say no because it's not going to work, because either one had just bought a house, my kids had just gotten to school. So there's other considerations that took place. So once I got into a situation where my son was starting on his own, my daughter was situation where she had either me or her mother to go to. So it was a situation where I was finally able to do what I wanted to do. And it also came at a time where I was questioning whether I wanted to be a teacher anymore, and I didn't.
Wow.
I like the kids. I don't like the bureaucracy. I don't like what's become of the education system. It's not education anymore. It's indoctrination, and it's not based on a side or anything. It's just kids just go to school. They read a book. They regurgitate what's in the book, and then that's called education. That's not education. Every kid learns different. Every kid has a different like, and they say, yeah, we want to bring those things out, but in the end, it's all geared toward taking the damn test. Can these kids pass the test? And once they pass the test, who gives a hell? Who gives a damn? And that's not what
Wow.
education is supposed to be about. And so, between that and just the bureaucracy and just things, things didn't make sense to me anymore. And so it was just one of these days. I was sitting at home. It was like a night. I remember I was drinking a beer and I was contemplating. And I remember, hey, I'm going to coach football, but I don't want to do it here anymore. So I had a friend of mine who actually went to the same high school I did. He was coaching in Serbia. So I hit him up on the email and said, hey, are you still hiring coaches? And he goes, yeah. Why? Aren't you teaching? I said, no, I'm tired of doing that. I want to coach football. I don't have anyone here that's dependent on me anymore. At least not on an everyday basis. Yeah, my daughter was still in school, and I, kept in contact that way. But I could leave. Finally, I can go do what I wanted to do. So he said, yeah, I'll hire you, but before we do that, you still have the site that we use called EuroPlayers. And so you put your profile there. Coaches go there, players go there. Teams also have accounts there. So that's kind of how I got found. I updated my Euro players, and within 3 days, I got a call from a team in Brazil called Cruzeiro, and they called me and they hired me. So I came down to Brazil in 2018, and then after that, COVID hit, all those years hit, and then I spent time in Hungary, I spent time in Poland, and now I'm back in Brazil. So,
Dude, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, it's refreshing to hear you say a little bit, and we're not going to dive too much in it because I don't want to offend some of our people that are teachers on there, but the bureaucracy in it, because I think there's a lot more than people don't see. So I'm proud of you for that, for standing up to it and say, this is not where I want to take my talents, right?
It got old.
It just got old, and you're basically pouring into kids at the same time as it's not the same as coaching, I'm guessing. Is that correct?
It's the exact same. Teaching is coaching,
Yeah.
coaching is teaching. It's the same thing. The difference with coaching is I don't have someone telling me I got to pass a test every year. My test is how good do my kids play on game day. And it's not if they win, great. If they lose, okay, they lose. But their future's not affected by it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
If I have a really good player and he's a really good player, he's going to go where no matter. Our record could be 0-10. That kid's still good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas if a kid fails the test or fails his that doesn't graduate, his whole life's screwed up. And so and for me, it just became a thing of I'm pouring all this energy in. I'm spending time away from my kids. I'm coaching these kids. I'm teaching these kids. I know these kids better than these parents know their kids. That's the part that got to me. When you call I was doing special ed, so you call an IEP, which is the kid's individual educational plan. You call a meeting, which is this is their contract with the state, the school district, what their kid's going to get services like. Parents wouldn't even show up, for these meetings.
Wow.
That kind of thing. So I'm putting all this energy into these kids whose parents don't even. I'm giving more to these kids than their parents are. It even got to the point where and again, I don't regret doing it. I'm glad we did it because it helped these two young men out. But we even took in two kids. One kid was a student of my ex-wife's. He lived with us for a year and a half. We got that kid off to a basketball deal, and he ended up doing fairly well at that. The other kid was a high school All-American kid. He was going to go live with his mom had just passed from cancer. He was going to go live with his dad in Vegas, and the day he was going to move to his dad in Vegas, his dad died of a heart attack. So we took him in, and he ended up going to Oregon State. I don't know if you remember, his name was Lamar Heron. He played strong safety for him. So we had him for about a year or two, and I'm glad we did it because it just gave him some stability. It wasn't we came and saved him. It's just he needed a place to live and eat, and my wife at the time liked to cook, and he liked to eat, so it worked out great. And she was, we're not married anymore, but she was kind of my conscience sometimes, because sometimes, when we're young, you can be a little callous to some
Yeah,
things.
a little
Um,
bit, right?
Especially in your 30s and 40s, you're kind of in that screw you mode. I got mine, get yours. But she was my conscience at that time, and I'm glad we did it, because it taught me a lot too on how to sometimes take a step back and kind of think how other people are feeling besides just yourself. And at that time we had the means to help the kids out too. And it was also good for my kids because they got to have two big brothers, so that was kind of fun for them. So they liked it.
Nice. I'm going to interrupt you here, Joe, for a
All right.
moment. It sounds so. We talk a lot on this podcast about who's it going to be if it's not me. Did you
Right.
ever actively ever say that to yourself or think that in your head? Because you've done that. It sounds like throughout your life. Who's it going to be if it's not me?
Yeah,
Who's
but
going to make the change? Who's going to
at,
help people?
yeah, at that time it wasn't me. That was more my ex-wife's doing, because she was
Ah,
that's just who she is and who she was. I think I'm more that way now because of her and being exposed to that kind of deal. And my mom and dad kind of the same way. They kind of saw it went on, and so I would probably say this. It's more of a recent, say within the last 10, 15 year kind of thing for me. Um, you know, I, I wouldn't say I grew up. I wasn't a rich kid. I wasn't a poor kid. I was a regular, everyday, average American middle class kid I was fortunate that my parents both worked really good jobs. I grew up in San Jose in a pretty diverse area. I mean, I went to school with, if you name a nationality, I went to school with it. So it was just really cool. I mean, it was a cool deal. So it wasn't really an issue. If somebody needed help, we just helped them. You know what I mean? But as far as doing what we did later, as far as with these two boys, that was more her doing than me. And I'm glad it happened, because it just allowed me to um, be a little more empathetic than, because again, 35, 40-year-old guys, we can be jerks. We
yeah.
don't have very much empathy. So it helped me out with that a lot. Yeah.
Good. You mentioned earlier that you're 57, correct? You
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. 57.
So at what point you said, and you also said here a minute ago that you weren't that, but now you are, and it's in recent years.
Right.
When did that switch flip for you? Right, buddy?
Yeah,
Which
I loved it. I was asking the same question, dude. I'm so glad you went there.
I think is when I decided I didn't want to be a full-time teacher anymore. That's kind of when and it just allowed me to say it's scary, when you do something for so long, or you've been working toward that, and all of a sudden you say, you know what, this isn't for me. And I'm fortunate. My mom, when I first told my parents about what was going to happen, my dad's a very logical, um, he's a very smart guy. I mean, both my parents are really smart. But he's also one of those guys that if it was up to him, both of his kids would live next door to him. So, like when I moved to Oregon, he didn't talk to me for a week because he was too pissed I was leaving. So it was kind of the same thing. I'm going to a whole different, part of the world. But my mom's attitude was, hey, dude, you know what? Your daughter's taken care of. Your son is, don't worry about him. He's fine. He's doing his thing. Finally, go do what you want to do. My mom and my sister probably know more about me than anybody else. Um, and they knew what I had passed up or what I had not taken, or what transpired, that the opportunities I had that I didn't take because, and I'm not, this isn't a blame thing. It's just, life happens. You have responsibilities. You got to take care of those responsibilities first. But I'm in a situation now. She said, just go. And if it doesn't work out, come back home. You can jump right back into what you're doing. You're in a profession where you're always going to have a job if you want it. So just go. And if you like it, just keep doing it. If you don't like it, come back, go back to work, and figure your next move out. There's no rule that says you have to stay in the same job for 30, 40 years just because your dad did or your grandfather did it. Times are different, man. I mean, and it's kind of good and messed up. We keep talking about, hey, these kids nowadays are screwed up. No, I think these kids nowadays have it figured out. These kids are not going to work 30, 40 years for somebody to make somebody else rich and then only live, and enjoy 20 years life. These kids want to enjoy life now. And I think the ones that are smart, that are doing it now, the ones that make a ton of money now, and then they go live their life. You know, it's life's not about working for the people. It's about, if you're going to work for yourself, make your money, do what you want to do,
Yeah.
help your family, and then hey, if I could decide tomorrow, I'm tired of coaching football. I want to be a bakery. I'm gonna go be a freaking baker. I'm gonna go do that. I'm not worried about, yeah, don't worry about retirement and all that. Yeah, but you know what? I'll figure it out. There's ways to make money. There's ways to do things. You can be 90 and still make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year just doing stuff on the internet. And living
Yeah.
here in Brazil, $4,000 or $5,000 is 25,000 to $20,000 here. So it's
That's
Wow.
awesome.
it's just one of those things where I decided I'm just gonna live life, do what I want to do. I tried to do it the other way, and it didn't work for me. And maybe I'm not a traditional guy, and a traditional job was never going to work for me. I mean, I was the black kid that played soccer, baseball, raced BMX bikes. I did skateboarding. I listened to all kind of crazy music. God bless my parents for exposing me. I mean, my parents had Led Zeppelin albums, Carole King albums, any group that you can name from the 60s and 70s, black, white, orange, they had it in the house. You know what I'm saying? So I was exposed to everything. My parents never did the don't listen to that, or don't listen to that, or why are you playing that? Even if something that my mom and dad didn't know what it was, they'd always at least ask, hey, what's that, or who's that? And then go on their way. They never really said anything, so I was allowed to be me. And I think a lot of times people aren't allowed to be themselves. They get stuck in this thing, and they're forced to. And I think these kids now have figured it out. And it kind of goes against our sensibilities as old people.
Right.
Some of the stuff they do, but I think these young kids got it figured out. And I
we've-
wish. Oh, go ahead.
I've thought about this and I've talked about this for a long time. I think we have life backwards. To your point, we should play until we're 60 and then work
Then go
until
to work. Right. To me, that makes more sense. To me, that makes more sense. But now, but I think a lot of these kids are figuring it out now. And let's face facts. I used to joke with my son about this. I was like, man, if I had a computer when I was, when your guys were coming through, I would have had 2 degrees. I mean, it's so much, and I'm not gonna say it's easier because now you obviously the college education has progressed to where you can't just go to the library and look at microfiche and get a book. They make you do
Right.
more work. But
Right.
the information that these kids have just in their cell phone alone is more than anything that any of us had at the same time. The fact that you can put every device that they used to have in your bedroom on your phone, your clock, your radio, your TV, everything is on this one little square thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know something, you Google it or look it up. We didn't have that access, so these kids have access to more information. They have access to more opportunities than we ever had, which I think is great. And I think a lot of these kids have figured out, hey, I can make this amount of money. Don't have to work for a couple of years. I can go travel the world, go back to work, make some money, go travel the world again, or go do what I want to do.
Right.
And to me, that's exciting for kids. And I hope they take advantage of what they have and don't listen to us old stogies. You got to save your money and you got screw that, man. Go live life, because you know what? There's no guarantee. I can walk out the door right now and get hit by a semi truck crossing the
I
street.
hear you.
And you're done. And then no one's ever looked back on their deathbed and say, oh, I wish I had gone to work more and made more money so I can be more miserable. What do they always say? I wish I had done this.
Yeah.
I wish I had done that. I can honestly say I've lived on 4 continents. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
I think there's a big thing too that I want to say to, because I agree with you on that part. There's actually, if we go back and play that, and the guys who turn into either watch or listen to this, is go back and listen to what it says. There was a ton of wisdom in there. He really didn't kind of find himself till about 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah,
And he went out and still finding himself. And that's what we've been talking about over the last 12 episodes. It's like,
It's never too late.
it's never too late. Don't be, and we bring this up all the time, Joe, that you'll hear me say this often, is don't be the Uncle Rico that sits there like, if I only had one more chance. Well, you know what? It didn't matter that you had another chance. You took another chance and another chance and another chance. And each step probably scared the beep, 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 beep out of you. But I'm going to do this. If I crash and burn, I crash and burn, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going on to it. And that's we're talking about you. Let's go back and talking about the kids that are watching you now, the kids, your son, your daughter, the guys that you coach. They are saying, okay, Joe's doing this. He's stepping on the line. He's coming across the pond to go help me out. Whatever life brings me after football, I know that I can turn to him and have conversations with him, because there's that type of bond when you're a coach. I mean, it's blood, sweat, and tears. You're rolling around the mud together in a roundabout way. But these guys can come back to you and get a bunch of wisdom. And that's where I go back to, when even to bring you on the show, is seeing what you're doing is an inspiration to not only me, but I'm sure to others that follow you, because you're taking life and doing exactly what God wanted you to do, is go use your talents and not only enjoy it, but go help others. And that's what I see in you all the time, man. And it's, what you just said back there is about everything that Brent and I have been talking without guests for a long time.
Right.
And you hit every single nail. I'm like, yes, finally someone gets it.
You know, it was funny. I've been fortunate, man. So when I got to Hungary, the guy I worked with, his name is Jaime Hill, and I actually helped him get a job in Brazil. Not helped him get it, but he saw me doing what I was doing and asked me how did he do it. So I told him how to go through the process. He ended up coaching the team in Sao Paulo, and then he got a job, and the team now plays in the Upper European League, but it was called the Enthroners, and he was the head coach. He got the head coaching job, and he hits me up, and he kind of roundabout way asked me if I'm interested in coming out. So I finally said, yeah, how much does it pay? Blah blah blah. Okay, I'll come out. And so I learned more about football, but the one thing I got from him was don't be afraid to lose. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
And it's funny because and we had a pretty good team. We had a situation where we didn't really have a quarterback. The guy that was supposed to be the quarterback ended up getting hurt, had a concussion, couldn't play football anymore. Really good guy. So, we're looking around, well, who the hell's going to be the quarterback? So we had a backup tight end, big kid, really good athlete, smart guy. It's like, hey, dude, you're the quarterback. He's like, what? I said, yeah, you're the quarterback. Don't worry, we'll get you. And he ended up being pretty good. He took us to a championship game. We ended up losing, but he got us there. You know what I mean? And ended up making the national team. I don't think he plays anymore, but at that time, our situation was, hey, we need to find a guy. We need to coach this guy up, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, we're going to do the best we can. And so the situation now, reason why I bring up the don't be afraid to lose. The team I have now, they just started playing football 2017, I believe, was the first year they got together. They're playing on the beach. So last year was their first year playing in the upper league. They had a decent year. They made the playoff off the first round. So they're considered a pretty decent team, but not great.
Yeah.
And so I get here, and one thing I just kept telling them, look, man, don't be afraid to lose. Losing's not the worst thing in the world. You can't play to your best if you're playing not to lose. We play to win. And if we lose, sometimes you lose. And that's the one thing I got from that guy. So right now, we end up beating two of the best teams in the country. They beat one team they beat last year, but it was kind of fluke led. We beat them this year. We beat the team.
Tell them what that score was, brother.
The first game was 34-16. We won.
Yeah.
The second game we won, and this team had won this league 11 years in a row. So they're still the defending champion, but we had never played them. But everybody knew the reputation. We had guys on our team that had played against them on different teams, and we ended up beating them by 2 points. It was 34-36, and then we just had a game. We went 59 to nothing.
Scoreboard.
Yeah, no, actually, and listen, I'm fortunate. I actually came to a really good organization that's really well run. I was given a lot of leeway on personnel. So I have a really good quarterback. He was Mr. Florida in high school. He was quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. He's got 2 black national championships. So this guy's really good.
Yeah.
And then I happened to find this receiver, and I just remember watching the game. Like, this guy's really good, And I did hear it, and I'm searching through the Euro players again, and I see the kid's name. I say, hey, so I contact him. And long story short, I asked him, hey, have you played overseas before? He goes, yeah, where'd you play? Mexico. Say no more. My GM's going to contact you. 3 days later, we had him signed. And he just went for 6 catches, 173 yards, and 4 touchdowns the last game. So
Well, I think the big thing about that too, Joe, is yes, you guys got talent too, but I also think is you could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the right leadership, and I'm not saying that, and I know that you won't admit this,
right,
but I'm saying
right.
this out loud, is you can have a bunch of talent, but if you don't have the right leadership, then
Oh
that
yeah,
talent really means nothing,
it
right? And
means
we see
nothing. It
that in
means
football all the time. You could
yeah.
be Odell Beckham Jr., keep stirring, try to find that team, all the talent in the world, but
Right.
right leadership, right coaching doesn't
That's what
put you,
like you guys know. Okay, well, Blair knows I'm a Raiders fan. I just got a Raider tattoo. Okay, but
yeah,
the one team I admire outside of the Raiders, is Pittsburgh Steelers, and
yeah,
they get it. They listen. Here's one thing I think a lot of professional teams, a lot of the teams in general don't understand. You're not going to win it every year. You can't win it
yeah,
every year. It's just impossible. Okay.
yeah,
I think what your goal is to be competitive and put yourself in a position to win every year. So one, your players stay tuned in. Number two, the fans stay tuned in. And number three, as a coach, you're still engaged. If you're
mm-hmm,
always like Belichick, yeah, he's got 7 of them, but he also lost 3 or 4 of those things too.
mm-hmm,
And the one he did win, he had to come back with the greatest comeback of all time, and he had Tom Brady. So that again, he wasn't going to win it every year, but he sure put himself in a position to win it. I like Pittsburgh. They've had 3 coaches since 1968.
all
Chuck
right,
Noll, and everybody keeps saying fire Tomlin. Why would you fire that guy?
amen,
His teams are always good. They're always competitive. He gets to the playoffs here, and if he's not getting to the playoffs, he's finishing 8 or 9-8. He's not having losing seasons, and
yeah,
I think Pittsburgh understands that. That's why they're consistent. That's why you see teams like, again, my Raiders. They'll be really good for a couple years, and then they're really crappy. Right now, it's been the last time in their Super Bowl was what 2001, and they haven't
yeah,
they've had maybe 1 or 2 decent years, but Pittsburgh, they're always like this. Those are the teams that I respect. And I think
yeah,
that's why I tell people it's just about consistency and putting yourself in a position to win. You can't win it every year, but you have to put yourself in a position.
yeah,
And I think that's the biggest thing. You're not going to win it every year. And I think we've gotten to the point where it's either win or nothing. And that's not how life works. You can't win all the time. But you can put yourself in a position to win and be successful and put yourself in the conversation. I think teams that understand that are the ones that we always talk about, the
mm-hmm,
Cowboys. Yeah, I hate the Cowboys, but you can say what you want to about them. We talk about them every year because they win, 10, 11, 12 games every year.
yeah,
And they get to the playoffs and, fall apart. But bottom line is they're still there every damn year.
still there,
And they make us talk to them.
yeah.
So that's what I admire about the Steelers.
So Brent, I'm gonna lead you into a question of this: is how many weeks have we been talking about? But what he just said is consistency, right? And you're
Yeah,
gonna have
so
you're gonna have your peaks and you're gonna have your valleys.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just saying this is like and I love what you instilled, what you said to your players, and I'm gonna turn this over to Brent real quick. It's like, don't be afraid to lose. Okay. If you're afraid to lose, then you're going to lose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or
Yeah.
you're not going to take a mark, you're going to give up.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that with Brent because I know he's got a question on that. So
well, more of just a comment and a statement to tie back into what you were talking about, Blair. Like, people are listening to this, they need to like rewind and slow down
Yeah.
and take the nuggets that Joe has dropped on us, because in every little discussion he has dropped probably 20 bombs, right? And so it's just the amount of knowledge and the experience that's there. It's exactly what we've been talking about. And you are an old guy that's still rocking, Joe, and I congratulate you and I thank you for being part of our podcast.
No
It
problem.
is
Thank
awesome
you.
to hear. I would call you one of those silent but deadly guys. You just dropped all these bombs and nobody really heard it because you just
Right.
kind of have this flow, right? But I
Yeah.
think if people really take the time to stop and really listen to what you're saying, you are epitomizing everything that we've been talking about on every one of our podcasts.
yeah,
It took me a while to get here, man. Again, and it's a scary thing, man. To just, I mean, when I first did it, I mean, I sold everything or gave things away. I left with nothing.
Wow.
I mean, I literally all my possessions. Some of my stuff's at Nikki Bertacci's house. I have some stuff there. She was cool enough to let me store some things there. A couple things, but for the most part, man, I'm living out of a suitcase right now, and I actually am happy. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually doing something I like doing. I'm good at it. I'm not how to come across as being a jerk by saying that, but I'm pretty good at it. And do I expect to win every year I could do it? No, because it's just not realistic. But like I tell my guys, I'm gonna give you the best chance, and whatever happens, happens. We're gonna go. You know, the one thing. In fact, they asked me a question. I did an interview after our last game, and they said, "What's the secret?" There's no secret. I said, "We're not fancy." I said, "You can watch our film and tell everything we're gonna do. We do nothing secret. We're not fancy. I'll even." I was being a jerk, but we're playing a team. The first team we're beating, and I'm yelling, "Hey, we're going to run this play, and I bet you can't stop me." I'm yelling this stuff to the defense. I'm telling them we're going to run the exact play we just ran last time, and we ran it 4 plays, 10 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards.
Oh, that's
Because,
great.
and I do that for a reason, and it's kind of what is teaching. Again, it's teaching. You have to give your kids. You have to. Coaching is teaching, and if I have this big, huge playbook of 400 plays, it doesn't do me any good if I can't teach them those 400 plays. But I realize I can teach you six or eight plays, and I can make them look like 400 plays. Doesn't change anything for you, but it changes for those guys looking at it. So if I put a guy in motion, if I just move another guy this, we're still going to run that same play, but to them it looks like we're running a whole different thing. So I like my guys to be able to just look. Here's what we're doing. You know what we're doing. Let's go play hard. Let's go play fast. And now, if they just kick our butt because they're better, then they kick our butt because they're better. And I have no problem with that. I can live with that. We'll figure out how we can attack it another way next time. But let's move on to the next one. And I'm not going to dwell on the loss. You know, there's no such thing as perfection. You know, here and one of the old things I learned from another coach. I wish I could remember his assistant coach I coached with. We were talking about Vince Lombardi. You know, everybody always gives the quote, you know, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. He never said that. What he said was, the thing that we strive for here is the pursuit of perfection, because nothing can ever be perfect. But if you pursue perfection, you get excellence. And that's why I always tell my guys every week. I'm sorry about that. We have very, very, very high winds here.
Oh, it's fine. I just thought you had a ghost for a second.
No.
What the hell's going on back there?
But so that's why I tell my guys every week, hey, you know what? We're going to play as hard as we can. We're going to do the best we can. And if we win, great. If we don't, we lose. We move on. We figure out. We go on to the next game. But we're not going to dwell on it. We're going to move on. And that's what I just, and that's what I've just instilled in. And I tell kids, look, man, you're going to fail. I mean, hell, shit. You know, we've all heard the Michael Jordan story 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know, he's missed more shots than he's made. And that's just how life works. You know, baseball, if you're a 300 hitter, that's only 30%, man. You're a 300 hitter, you're in the freaking Hall of Fame, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we've been falsely led to believe that everyone's supposed to be a winner, and it's not the case, man. Everyone that's won has lost. So
I think everyone doesn't have to be a winner, but everyone is a winner in a roundabout way. I think you're going back to the indoctrination. You have to do this, this, and this to have an accomplished life, right? It's saying is like you just basically told the world that you're living on a suitcase, but the ripple effect that you're having on people's life, not only that's going to come out of this episode, but realistically over your 5-6 years of coaching, the little changes that you put into people's lives, the ripple effect is bigger than you'll ever know.
Right. Oh, I still got kids from 30 years ago that say, hey, Coach, I remember that one time you told me this, and I took your advice, and thanks for that. Or just kids I see, like you're on Facebook, kids I talked to on Facebook that I had 30 years ago, you know, and now they're, instead of calling me Coach Downs, they're calling me Joe. You know. Yeah. Or here's even for me. My high school science teacher, probably one of my favorite teachers of all time, Mr. Gross, or I have to call him Ted now. Ted Gross. He was my biology teacher, and I hated school. I was a smart kid, but I hated school. I didn't like school. But I actually liked going to his class, man. He was one of those teachers that, he was a laid-back dude, but no one ever disrespected him. His classes were always fun. He actually made me like school again, So it's just, it only takes one person, man, to change how you look about things. And I don't go out with the intent to do it. I just say, look, man, this is what was told to me. This was given to me. Hopefully, what I was given, I can give some to you, so you can learn from it, and then you can pass on to somebody else. And that's how I try to do it.
So if I could summarize that, you're saying pay it forward, Joe.
Pay it forward, man. Yeah, and I'm not saying you have to go out and uproot your life and do those things, but if, let's say Blair, one of your grandkids is playing a sport, you can help. Even if it's just going out and helping the coach, move the ball on a pass rush drill or something like that. First of all, the kid's is gonna appreciate it because you're spending time with the kid, but it also helps me. That's how I started doing it. I was watching and I said, man, I gotta start coaching again because I miss football. I can't play anymore, but I know a lot. Maybe I can help somebody out, and it ended up being what it was. Um, it's just the biggest thing I've gotten out of life at the end is do what you want to do, try it. You gotta try.
Yeah.
There's like I said, there's probably some guy out there sitting that's gonna watch this that wants to restore old shotguns. Dude, go restore those old damn shotguns.
Amen.
Or go fix that old tractor, or go take that trip with your old lady to Europe. Go do it while you're alive, because you don't want to be freaking 89 years old in a wheelchair. Man, I wish we had gone to Paris in the summer of 2023. Now it's 2040, and we're about to kick the bucket, and we never did nothing. That's not life. That's not life. So
man.
57. Yeah, so that's again. I'm just fortunate, man. I was fortunate enough where my mom and dad allowed me to be what I wanted, to be, and they always support everything I did. And even this thing now, they ask questions and they're wary, but they say, hey, look, as long as you feel comfortable doing it, hey, go do it. We'll watch. They keep tabs on me. They watch every game that's on YouTube. I got to make sure I send them the link before the games. They watch. My mom sends her critique at the end of the game, like the game we beat the best team in our area. She said, I thought your defense played really bad, but then I saw the stats and it was okay.
It's okay.
You're right, it was okay. So yeah, no, just and you know what I remember about you, Blair, when I first met you. When I first met you, I remember because I think we kind of grew up the same. You like nice clothes, I like nice clothes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how you and I, because I remember you had those Nunn-Bush boots, and I had to get a pair of those.
Yeah.
And then I also remember was, first of all, your mom was cool. I remember I met your mom that came down, and I said, remember, your mom dressed like my mom, real classy, just nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's what I remember about you too, Blair. You were never afraid to ask a question.
Really?
You were never.
See, I love this stuff because there's things in life, and I'm going to go back to this. Is not about me right now. There's things in life when you have relationships for over 30 years, and we've been apart for a long time. So this is really a reunite of this, and that's kind of the same thing with Brent. Brent and I have stayed in more contact over the last 20 years, but to hear things that you never paid attention to, and I'm sure when people say that stuff to you, it's refreshing, right? Like, oh my God, I never knew that was so impactful. But to hear those last three things, like, okay, I did something. I was a part of something that I made a difference. Yeah. And I always say that. Don't be afraid to ask a question, brother.
No,
what are they going to do? Tell you? You're going to tell you a freaking no? Who cares?
Right. Who
tell
cares?
me no.
Right.
Okay, now I know.
Right. And we were lucky, and we gave her so much. You know what I'm talking about? Karen Martin, man.
Oh man.
She allowed us to come to her house and eat up all her food, and we gave her so much grief, but she would just take it. And so if she watches this, Karen Martin, I want to say thank you for putting up and a bunch of crazy kids from Portland and California and Washington and we
were a crew, dude. Jim Cannell.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
This is like TJ Gadati. This is Pamela.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh darn it, Brent, if you would have saw, I mean, you've seen a lot of things with me, Brent, but we might have got in a little bit more trouble before you saw me.
But the good thing was nobody was afraid to ask questions at all. Like you used to ask the craziest shit, and we would just laugh, but we appreciated it. Because you grew up in Portland. We grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
Two totally different areas.
Totally.
And but everybody, the cool part was everybody got along. Kendall was from Washington, you were from Portland, we were from the Bay. Yeah. Dave, Scotty, all them dudes. Pam. Everybody got along, got together, and no one was afraid to ask a question to anybody. So that was a really cool experience. I remember that vividly.
So I'm going to parlay that into something that we've also been talking about this couple of weeks. Is we got to get back to community. And that's one thing that, when we grew up to, is a lot of us, especially who are more seasoned in life in our 50s and maybe a lot of part of our 40s or 60s, 70s, that's how we grew up. We grew up in community. We weren't afraid to ask somebody. We didn't care where we grew up from, is that we were all friends and we all just did stuff together. And that's how it was. And even after 30 years to come back to this, and thank God for technology for that reason, that's why a lot of us are still together.
Right.
So be afraid of technology to a certain extent, yes, but don't be afraid to go ahead and reach out to that person you may have not had contact for 10 to 15 years because they were still part of your life. And there's still an opportunity for you to make a difference. So we're going to kind of, actually not going to kind of, we're going to wrap this up and do some different things. But dude, I am so incredibly grateful, and I know Brent's going to have some stuff on here too, but I'm so incredibly grateful for the wisdom that you shared with us today. We've done 13 episodes today. There was one other one that really affected. This one was really good, dude. You really exposed a lot of things that there's a lot of potential inside of us that was still left untapped, and don't be afraid to make a decision. And sometimes after you do episode after episode after episode, we kind of get to a white noise. And I think that you really unlifted that veil of the white noise today. It's like, go out and live life. And if you live out of a suitcase for a couple of years, who cares?
Who cares?
I'm not only changing my life, I'm changing other people's lives at it. And I may not be thinking of that I'm out here to change lives. I'm just doing what my passion is, and and everyone has a purpose instilled in them, and no matter what your belief is, everyone has that purpose, and you are untapping that purpose, which is, dude, one of my most favorite conversations I've had in a long time. So thank you for coming on here, brother.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Brent, any final thoughts from you, brother?
Well, last time I said make a damn difference, and I think Joe has epitomized that and reminded us that we do have to make a damn difference. And so I appreciate having you, Joe. It has been refreshing to hear it from somebody else other than in my head.
Hey, let me add one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I think as a country, we've gotten to the point where we take disagreement as being, I don't like you. And I think that's, like, you know me, Blair. You call me a left-leaning, liberal, whatever, and that's fine. Okay, and you're more of a right-wing guy, and that's fine. But you and I can have a conversation, and we've had these conversations.
Thank you.
And guess what? I will still respect the shit out of you because I know you as a person. I know where you're coming from. Now, if I was an asshole and I was just a jerk and you were the same, well, that'd be different. But I know you, so you can have we can have a difference of opinion and still be friends. And I think we've lost that as an art in this country. It used to be, you could be a Democrat, be a Republican, or whatever party it was, and still be friends. And now we've got to a part where you're a Republican, well, I can't talk to you. You're a Democrat. How stupid is that? You're going to let something, and you and I both know this, in the end, the people that are way up here can give two shits about the people that are down here.
Amen.
That's why the people down here need to stick together. Even, you might say, you know what, I like red, I like blue. Well, what the fuck's wrong with purple? Let's make purple.
Amen.
Because I think as a society, once we start getting back to being in the middle and, understand, you know what, I'm not going to get everything I want out of this election, and I'm not going to get everything I want out of this election, but let's get the stuff out of the election that's going to help the most people. And I think once we start doing that again as a country, we'll be a lot better.
We're going to have you on the show every freaking week now. Dude, you're just so refreshing, brother. Again, it's just thank you so much. Any final thoughts from you? Well, actually, that was your final thought, but
that was it.
How do we get a hold of you, brother? At the end of the day, is if people want to go ahead, it's like, God, I really like what Joe had to say today. I want to tap into some of his wisdom. How do we follow you on Instagram? How do we follow you?
So my Instagram tag is Joseph B. Wolf, and that's a nickname my dad gave me. And then I'm also on Facebook under Joe Daniels. It's probably the two best ways if you need to get a hold of me. That's the best way to do it.
So one thing that I'm also going to ask of you is that every week that you go ahead and you send me your link for your football games, and those guys who want to follow the career of Mr. Joe Daniels out here and his team that is now 3-0 and just coming off a 59-0 woodshed beating. I love it. Follow him on that. So, and then Brent Wright, how do we get a hold of you?
Linktree, Brent Wright, BrentWright on Linktree.
And those for you who do not know, Brent Wright is a very accomplished entrepreneur in the Eugene area, with, owner of many businesses, great detail shop, big property management side of that way, as along with computers as well. And then for those who the first time who are watching me, who haven't seen me before, as I said again, my name is Blair Armstrong. We're with Coldwell Banker Team Armstrong out here, and we basically supply all of Coachella Valley with luxury real estate. So if you guys have any questions for me, for Brent, or for Joe, feel free to put those in the comments. Joe, I'm going to send you the links to this. We're going to be on Spotify, which you can listen to, and then YouTube that you can listen and watch at the same time. But that is it for now. We're going to get a hold of you in probably a couple other months, man. I want to follow up with you. I like to explore you more. This conversation really scratched the surface of what we can be, and we really like that. But guys, that's it for this week. We really appreciate you. If you like this episode, go ahead and share it. If you don't like this episode, tell us why you don't like it, and let's go ahead, as Joe said, let's have a debate why you don't like it or whatever. Right. But in the meantime, for the most part out there's go and start building that community, because what Joe said at the end is probably one of the best nuggets out of 100 nuggets he's dropped today. Is it's time that we stop looking across political lines and become purple, regardless of what the connotation that has been fed to us by media. We have to come together, because he's absolutely right that people up above that are running this place right now, or think that they're running this place, are dividing us more and more and every day. And there's 3 people on here that I guarantee you somewhere along the line we do not agree on the same thing, but from this point forward we're going to become very good friends, and we're going to use that friendship to change this world. So, and that's my soapbox for today. Most of all, you guys, stay safe out there, like each other, learn something about someone that you never knew before. But most of all, guys, stay safe and God bless. We will talk to you very, very soon. Joe, love you, brother. Stay safe. Good luck this week.
All right. Thanks
Brent,
a lot.
Have a good week. Say hi to your kids. Take care,
All right.
guys.
All right.